I was 5 years old and had climbed to the top of a tall elm tree in our front yard, anxiously awaiting the arrival of the man who would butcher our two hogs. I did not know what that involved, except that we needed a brisk winter day and that this year I would get to watch. As my hands began to numb from the morning chill, I squinted my eyes and looked hard to make sure they didn't lie. Sure enough, in the distance, I saw a faint cloud of dust trailing a dark brown pickup truck rattling down the dirt road, winding through the mesquites in our pasture, leading to our house. I was pretty sure the truck was the hog man, since that road only led to our house and to the Pruitts, who lived several miles to the north, nearly to the Pease River, where it ended. And they didn't have any hogs. You didn't just happen to drive by our house, if you know what I mean. We lived on the edge of the flat world, at the threshold of oblivion, on the old Chambers Ranch headquarters, about 6 miles from Afton, a town of about 75 people, just off the Caprock in the rolling plains of West Texas, about 65 miles east of Lubbock. We were in the heart of ranch country, where houses were far and few in between. Jackrabbit pellets were the size of cannonballs, and cowboys never die. They just fade into the sunset. Convinced I had spotted the hog man, I was excited to announce that news to my mom and dad. Fortunately, I had on a new. No, they weren't just new. I had on a brand new pair of black and white, high top, Converse tennis shoes, which any 5-year-old country boy would tell you enhanced one's agility and quickness at least tenfold. They also gave me cat-like tree climbing ability. I could have jumped the 25 feet to the ground. Instead, I cascaded down the tree like a monkey on fire, leaped to the ground, and ran like a deer escaping a bullet to the back door of the house, where I skidded to a stop. I bolted into the house and announced with excessive excitement, "The hog man is coming!" "I'll be out in a minute," Dad said. "You stay out of his way, you hear? He's got a big day dressing out two hogs." With that, I ran back out the screen door, almost knocking it off its hinges, and was almost to the yard fence 20 yards away when I heard it slam and Mama yell, "Don't slam the door, James!" But it was too late. I strolled towards the pig pen, past the long, low chicken house on my left, anxiously awaiting the arrival of the hog man. The two hogs greeted me as I arrived, talking as they moseyed from the dark brick red feed storage building on the back side of the pig pen, past the grain grinding machine parked next to it. On the far end of the pig pen were 3 large mesquite trees shading a 10-foot round water trough next to a windmill. The overflow from the water trough provided the loblolly for the hogs, sometimes called a hog waller. It was a great place to find leopard frogs, water bugs, and tadpoles. I had hardly got settled on the top of the fence when a battered old brown pickup filled with hog-killing equipment arrived. It made a lazy circle and backed up to the gate as Daddy arrived. A heavy-set black man got out of the pickup and greeted Daddy. "Buck," Daddy replied. "I remember you, Buck. You've killed for us before. Think you can carve up these two today?" As Buck spoke, I noticed he had something wrong with his throat. His breathing was labored and accompanied by a gurgling sound. He responded, "As best we can. You want a normal breakdown Hams and belly to salt and ribs to chops and front blade to roast, belly to bacon, split cracklings and rinds and save the back fat and leaf fat for lard and grind the rest into sausage. Dad affirmed, and they unloaded the truck and set up two tall tripods, a sturdy wooden table, a bunch of kindling and firewood, a shovel, two large wash tubs, a couple of 5-gallon buckets, and two large black cast iron cauldrons, together with various knives, hatchets, long handled spoons, and various pans and buckets. The last thing he unloaded was a rifle, which he laid on the table. His breathing difficulty and gurgling got louder as he exerted energy. Buck erected two tripods and dug two holes in the ground near them. He put several pieces of kindling in the hole and started a fire. Once it was ablaze, he put large pieces of firewood on them and let them burn while he gathered other tools and positioned them in his work area. By the time I left, Buck had set up all of his equipment. I noticed Buck also walked with a slight limp. He was over 6 feet tall, taller than Daddy, and was overweight, but carried it on a large muscular frame with broad shoulders and big, strong arms and legs. His hair was black and curly with specks of gray or white. He wore a floppy, short-brimmed, dingy brown hat and well-worn, faded dark blue overalls. He wore brown, high-top, laced-up work shoes that, while scuffed up, looked comfortable. His skin was deep dark black, which made the whites of his eyes stand out. I returned later to find that he had wood fires under the two large cauldrons filled with hot but not boiling water. As I approached the fence, Buck was enticing a hog towards the tripods with a pan of Milo mesh. He had the rifle in one hand. He motioned for me to be quiet, so I squatted down and watched between the lower boards of the fence. I heard Daddy approaching. I turned and gave Daddy the shh sign by putting my index finger to my lips. About the time Daddy arrived, Buck got the hog where he wanted him and placed the barrel of the rifle close to the hog's head between his eyes and fired. Bam! The hog did not make a sound. He simply collapsed straight down onto the ground, silent and still. Buck attached a rope to his rear legs, and Daddy helped him use the pulley to hoist the animal to the top of the tripod. Buck quickly and forcefully inserted his knife into the hog's throat and pushed his hand and forearm deep into the animal's chest until blood suddenly gushed out and into the bucket Buck had placed under the animal's head. There was a lot of blood, and it flooded out. He and Daddy then maneuvered the hog into the scalding vat, which consisted of two 55-gallon barrels welded together. And Buck then poured hot water over the hog, and after a short wait, they hoisted the hog out of the water. And Buck grabbed a scraping tool and immediately began scraping hair off the hog. Well, Daddy went about his business, and Buck sharpened his knife with his long steel attached to his apron with a leather strap. The labored breathing and gurgling persisted and continued to bother me. I watched as Buck squatted down and made 4 precision cuts, and the hog's head came off. He flopped it onto the table, snout up. He butchered the animal into various cuts of meat. Daddy came back and took most of the pieces to the pump house, where it was prepared for curing. Then we ate supper. It had been a big day, and I was tired, and the sun had gone down, and it was a moonless dark outside. Before getting undressed for bed, I looked out my bedroom window and, to my surprise, saw the glow from the hog pen. Buck was still working. The big mesquite trees in the corner of the big pen and the windmill cast spooky shadows. The barn to the right of the pig pen was dark, and I could hear a hoot owl in the distance, maybe coming from the barn. The sheet iron on the chicken house reflected the light and made it seem like there was something on the near side of the pig pen moving. There was a cold breeze making a whistling sound as it wormed its way through the skinny branches and leaves of the mesquite trees. The row of mulberry trees on the back side of the barn were darker than the surrounding area and made it look like there was a mysterious cave or a magic forest behind the barn. It was scary, but I was compelled to see what Buck was doing. As I tied my shoes and pulled on my coat, I also remembered that lots of rattlesnakes stay around the chicken coop, and we had killed several that summer and even into the fall. I couldn't be sure they were all denned and ready for winter. I bravely opened the back screen door and gently closed it so Mom and Dad would not stop me and make me go to bed. As I stepped outside, I heard the faint howls of a lone coyote in the distance. The night was cold, and the wind stung my face. As I walked next to the house, I found it difficult to see what was on the ground before me. As I cleared the side of the house, the frigid wind snuck under my chin and made me wish I'd put on a cap. It seemed even darker now than before. As I walked across the front yard, I was startled by birds departing an elm tree. Approaching the front yard gate, the single coyote turned into a painful howl of two, and then three, and then a chorus of coyotes speaking to the moon. I quickly glanced to my right and left, suspecting to be surrounded by coyotes, all with their steely eyes fixed on me as they licked their lips. None were seen, but now even the loud chirps of a bug startled me. I wanted to run, but I didn't. As I approached the glow, I could see Buck's shadowy outline as he moved in the glow of the fires burning under the cauldrons. As I walked past the chicken coop, something inside scrambled, making a disturbing rummaging noise that almost made me panic. It did not occur to me that it could just be some chickens. I gasped and clenched my fists. My legs wanted to run, but my mind froze them in place. Paralyzed, I turned toward the sounds. It was dark inside the chicken coop. I could not see what was inside. I imagined I saw a dark shadow move and a pair of yellow eyes staring at me. I slowly backed away and paced and quickened my pace, focused on the glow coming from the pig pen. As I approached, I heard Buck sharpening his knife on the steel as he breathed loudly and gurgled and limped around. I could see his silhouette as he cut the flesh of the hog and then stirred the cauldron with a long-handled paddle. His large body cast a long shadow that danced across the lot and onto the fence. I still could not make out what he was doing, so I inched closer and closer as I trembled with fear. Finally, I was at the fence, and I could see Buck's body clad in his hog-killing apron, glistening on one side while surrounded by darkness on the other. His black skin reflected the twinkling light of the fire, but his gurgling and breathing got louder and louder until they were screams synchronized with every movement of the long-handled paddle. I was afraid to look around me. I was afraid to look straight ahead. I knew I had done something stupid. I was frozen as I squatted peering through the fence at the image of a witch's cauldron at the gates of hell. It could not get any worse. And then it did. I moved, and my knee dislodged a board on the fence, causing it to fall with a loud plop. In response, Buck turned and looked straight at me. I saw two large white eyeballs staring at me on a black background trimmed in the glow of the cauldron fires. I froze transfixed on the eyeballs, which grew larger and became bloodshot as I looked. They were devoid of expression and got closer and closer. Two large white bloodshot eyeballs were haunting me out of the black abyss. As they advanced, I saw the white teeth of huge flying bats descending on me from the mesquite trees, and black silhouettes of coyotes with red eyes charging toward me from both sides of the red brick building. I was shaken into action when I heard the rattle of rattlesnakes on my left side, and I felt the movement of its scaly body slithering against the calf of my leg. I instinctively shoved my heels into the dirt and pushed my bottom backwards away from the fence and advancing demons. I flew backwards across the ground, propelled by my churning heels for several yards. Thank goodness I had my black and white high-top Converse tennis shoes on. I turned to one side and planted both magic shoes under my quivering body as I rotated my legs as fast as a whirling propeller and ran towards the house. The adrenaline and my black and white high-top Converse tennis shoes blasted me away from the bloodshot white eyeballs, coyotes, bats, rattlesnakes, and other demons pursuing me. My shoes performed magic, and in less than a heartbeat I flashed through the front yard gate as a cadre of frightful images crashed into the fence. Accelerated by the hope of survival, I shot across the yard and found the screen door a millisecond later. I slid into the sanctity of my home on my heels, out of breath and shaking. As I entered the house, I heard Mother call me. Reluctantly, I walked trembling to the doorway of their bedroom as she asked, "Where have you been?" Without revealing my frightened condition, I calmly replied, "Just checking on Buck."
"Is he about finished?" Dad asked.
I didn't wait to find out," I replied as I immediately headed to my bedroom. The end.